from Guatemala City. So from Guatemala City, the capital, to Quetzaltenango. So technically, this is the heart of the highlands in Guatemala.
And you'll see Lake Atitlan on the map. So it's an incredible lake where we are right now. We'll be based mostly in a little town called Panajachel, and we'll be spending a number of nights here as well as a couple of nights in other spots around the country.
So just a big picture. Before the Spanish people came 500 years ago, it was a great civilization here. And then after the Spanish people came, it was a process of colonization. So colonization for us is destruction of who we are. So we went to visit one of the cities that was the first city destroyed by the Spanish. And from that point, we are going to learn about the Mayan in the past, but also we're going to learn about the Mayan in the present, especially the struggles that we have as post-colonial society. Guatemala is known by the beauty. We call it the eternal spring country. The whole year you can see colors, you can see the beauty of the sky, you can see the beauty of the people. So this is just some samples of the colors.
Everything's green a lot of the time and lots of tropical fruits. Panajachel is a subtropical climate. So you'll see plants, tropical plants, avocados, bananas, fruits,
Lemons.
pineapples. So it's all here for us.
So from the history, corn has been the most important element and for the Maya people. By the way, according to our belief, the creator, he or she used the corn to create the people. So that's why we call the Mayan people are the people from the corn.
So our tour is going to be 10 nights long, and you will fly into Guatemala City, which is the capital. There's about how many million? Like 6 million?
Uh-huh.
4, 5, 6 million around there in the city, spread out. And then we don't usually stay in Guatemala City. It's a huge city with lots of traffic. So we head to a town called Antigua. It's about an hour's drive from Guatemala City, and we will spend 2 nights there. It's a beautiful colonial city. We'll show you some photos, and then we'll come here to Panajachel for 5 nights and spend 1 night in Quetzaltenango, 1 night in Chichicastenango, and 1 night in Antigua. The city names are really beautiful here. So Tenango means the place of. So Quetzaltenango means the place of the quetzal bird, which is the national bird of Guatemala.
So we will start seeing this beautiful city actually today, but we have to learn that this was one of the first cities built by the Spanish people. So you see the beautiful architecture, you see the beautiful street, you see the beautiful buildings. So it's true, it's beautiful, but we have to learn that the Mayan people were used as slaves, creating churches, public buildings. So we had to learn about how the Spanish people dominate under the colonization process, the Mayan people. But today, many years later, we can see the beauty of it. But it was a social cost. It was a cultural cost. It was the Mayan creating this with no payment, for example. So we will learn about that part. The beauty?
And Guatemala is also a country of volcanoes. There are 22 very big volcanoes. There's three, I can see them from where I'm sitting right now, and three of them are active. One of the active ones is just outside of Antigua. So maybe you'll get to see it puffing, or
Lava.
sometimes you get to see the lava.
So our country primarily is a country of agriculture. So we have coffee, sugar plantations, and also we have a variety of fruits and vegetables. So this is just a sample of what you can see in the markets where people want to buy food.
This is a Central Park in Antigua. So we'll spend 2 nights in Antigua, kind of getting to know the city. We'll potentially visit a couple of organizations or groups and just kind of acclimatize to being in Guatemala. this is the way we usually transport ourselves. We have a nice bus, and Marco is our driver. He's on the roof there, putting all our luggage on the top. And so we always say, be careful how much you bring, because has to be the one lifting it up on the roof. This was a group from Highlands United Church, 2019, right before COVID. Was our last group to Guatemala.
So as I mentioned before, there is a archaeological site, and we have a guide who is our friend. And this is a sign of hope. He's very young man, but he's deep into the explaining to us about the Mayan, the people, the life of the Mayan people in the past, and the friend and the present, but also his dreams about the Mayan people.
And then we're going to travel to the lake. So there you can see some of the volcanoes around the lake. And Julio and I are sitting in the town on the left-hand side of the lake right now, on a property that we're going to be hosting you on when you come. So it's a gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful place.
So the beauty of the lake is it's just amazing, stunning. People around the world, they call it the most beautiful lake on the planet.
And while we're here, we've got some visits planned. So we're going to visit a project that we like to connect people with called Funda Maya. We will visit a preschool program. You might recognize some people in these photos. So the preschool program is lovely and full of energy, full of love. The children is really beautiful to spend time with. They all come from rural villages around the lake, and education is a big challenge here in Guatemala. Every child gets at least to grade 6, but the schools are not funded the way Canadian schools are. And so this is a private preschool that gives children a really beautiful start, including a meal every day, which we will sponsor. And they usually we'll do some art with them or some projects. So it's your chance to really connect with children. And then we also visit an elders program. These are all elders, most of whom live on their own. They maybe don't have family anymore. Maybe their family has migrated to the United States and kind of forgotten them. But there's a lunch and social program for them that we like to visit and just hang out with them. They're like our grandparents, so we'd love you to meet them too.
So, in one of these days, we will go to San Juan La Laguna. It's an iconic place. And the most important part, this is the way to trip. Go ahead. I think in this town, the most important thing that we do is to learn about the Mayan spirituality. So we will have Nan Maria. We will have a Nan Maria. And so before that, so we are going to see how this town with 95% of Mayan people, they are showing their arts, they are showing their spirits, they are showing their will to go ahead in life. But I was talking about Nan Maria. Go ahead. So yeah, we are going to see also how the coffee is processed from the beginning until you have a cup of coffee in your hands. So there is a cooperative, and they will explain to us the whole process about the coffee from the plantation, how this grow up until we have coffee in our tables.
And this altitude and this volcanic soil is extremely fertile and extremely makes some of the best coffee in the world. So
we will learn about that, and also we're going to learn about how they process the coffee. And one of the most powerful component in the Mayan are the weavings. Weavings, this technique can be like 10,000 years old, 8,000 years old. Today, of course, they have new materials, but they keep some of the roots, some of the principles of the Mayan techniques of weaving. So we are going to have the chance to hear from the weavers how this is about. For example, one day, I didn't know that, but when it's full moon and you are color
dying,
and when you're dying, if the moon is full, you get one product. If you don't have full moon, you cannot have product. So
it changes the color and the indigo dye.
The indigo dye.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see the correlation between Mother Earth and we the people. Okay, so I was talking about this. Nan Maria is a Mayan spiritual leader, like a with our minister kind of equivalent. So she will explain uh, about the Mayan spiritual life. How was it before the Spanish? Because after the Spanish came, it was a colonization process where the Catholic Church was a big institution to make those changes in our life. But there is a fraction of the community that they keep their own Mayan spirituality. And being with Nan Maria, the lady on the right, she's our teacher, but also she's practicing for her life. So we will have the chance to hear about that. And one of the most important moment is to be part of a ceremony around a fire, a sacred fire. And she also will explain about the components, the meaning, and we will learn about
I like this picture of the various modes of transportation in Guatemala. So the camionetas are the colorful buses. They're from United States usually, and they get brought down here and then totally souped up, and they're the main transportation system. They also have these small vans or buses, and then we have tuk-tuks, which you'll also have the chance to travel around in. And we're going to head to Julio's town on one of our days at the lake. And you'll be here during the rainy season. So once a day, sometimes once a day, once every 2 days, there might be an incredible rain shower in the afternoon. But then it clears up again, and the mornings are always beautiful and clear. But it'll look like this. It'll be so green,
corn.
so lush. The corn will be like 15 feet high, and it's a beautiful time to visit here.
Bueno,
So this is Julio's mom. So we're going to spend a day in Julio's town. It's not really a place any tourists go, just us and our groups. And we'll visit this little woman named Nan Maria. She's kind of Julio and my adopted grandmother. She lives totally by herself in a very natural context. She's barefoot most of the time, and she's really deeply connected to Mother Earth. And she lives that way. And we spend a little hour with her. And the one thing she loves to do is to pray for us. So you'll get to have the blessing of praying with and praying. She will pray for you.
so in Santa Lucia, we have three goals. The first goal is to see the hope of the Mayan people. We are going to visit a school of music. So to the right, you can see the teacher, and they have a beautiful school where the new generations are learning about music and about feeling their soul. But also in Santa Lucia, we are going to start learning about the Civil War. Uh, my community was affected by the Civil War. For more than 5 years, the National Army, was controlling our life. And during that time, they kidnap people, they torture people, they kill people. So in my family, it was my mom's brother and the whole family, they were killed. It was a massacre. Based on that experience, I wrote a book about it because after they killed my uncle, we in my family we feel like we were next, and my brothers and sisters we respond in different way. And my way was I was so scared about being killed, so I was hiding myself for 1 year in my house, and the trauma that I suffered during that year was really dramatic. So after that time, I went to write a book about it, and we are going to share a little bit about that process. But also, we are going to learn about the Renaissance of the Mayan people. So we are going to visit the Mayan authorities, the Alcaldía Indígena, and we are going to learn how now in this time, especially with the new government, we have a chance to take power in our own ways. So the Mayan authorities are not elected like in the democratic system. They are elected in the old way that people name them according to their function, their actions. So we are going to learn about the Mayan authorities.
Then we'll go for 2 days to Xela, which is short for Quetzaltenango, place of the Quetzal bird. And this is the second largest city in Guatemala. I like to show this picture because it's a church on Sunday morning. And this is a massive cathedral, but there wasn't enough room inside, so people are piled out. So it's a very religious Christian country here, Guatemala is. Mostly the Catholic Church or the Evangelical Church. When we're here, we go and visit this little school in a little town called Chuitziribal. It's a high mountain village. And in 2019, we completed a school there, the school that you see there. This is the opening of it. And 3 United churches, Highlands United, St. Andrews Wesley, and Lynn Valley, were fundamentally involved in that, as well as many people who have come to Guatemala with us in the past. So you'll hear the story about that and how it happened. And you'll get to also spend another day with the kids there, and they love it when we bring groups. They are, it's like the best day of their year when we show up with you guys, because we usually plan activities, maybe some crafts. Ali from Highlands brought her puppets. So we bring games, or we have a different focus every time we come. So we'll work on that with whoever is gathered to come on the tour with us. But it's a lovely, hopeful, beautiful place.
Yeah, and Mother Earth always give us very many beautiful gifts. So this is hot water, spring waters. So we will have the chance to enjoy this beautiful hot water,
Yeah,
natural hot water.
it's a lovely day to do that. And then we go to the most amazing market. It is called in a town called Chichicastenango, and it is one of the largest markets in Latin America, full of color, full of life, full of craft and art and chickens and food, everything you can imagine. There's Eric with some bananas. And you'll spend the day there. This is the vegetable market. So this is just set up twice a week, and then it's gone at the end of the day. Most of it will be sold. So it's just a massive market full of people, full of life.
Okay, and then I think this is one of the hardest parts of our trip. It's kind of a pilgrimage to a place, kind of a concentration camp. So we are going to visit Zacualpa, which is the name of the town. During the Civil War, Zacualpa was controlled by the army for more than 8 years. And again, during that time, people, the Zacualpa, they were under the power of the army. And then the army, they went to take possession of the church. And they were using the church as their base. And there were many little rooms in the church where the army people used to torture people to get some information that they want. And it was bad things happened there. Many people were killed exactly there. It was a pozo,
well.
a well where they put the bodies of children and elders, and it's a terrible thing. But the way that our guide Nan Juliana, she basically take us in a little journey of learning about what's the bad thing happened, but also about the hope, about the spirituality of this center today. So Doris going to explain about the nuns in the church. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are Franciscan nuns there who are in charge of the church now, and it's been transformed from this place of hopelessness and desperation to this really life-giving place where they have lots of workshops, programs, there's bread baking, and the nuns are a beautiful presence there. They also work with lots of migrants. The route of the migrants to the United States kind of passes through Zacualpa. So they have a program where they're also working with migrants. But it's a very meaningful pilgrimage to go there.
Yeah. So yes, after that day, it's really we need to recover a little bit because it's tough. So we are going to learn about the last genocide happened in Guatemala, but it was not the only one. Since 500 years ago, we experienced 4 genocides moments. So we are going to see the last one. And then we have to go back to the colonial city with a different vision, I think, and feelings about Guatemala, but still enjoying the beauty of today.
Yeah. Oh, and this is a funny picture. There's Will and I. So I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah. So those were some images. Of course, we like to, once we know who's gathered on the tour, we can, add something, or maybe somebody has a specific interest that you'd like to see when we're there. We can always incorporate and shift, but that's the program that we have set right now. And the detailed itinerary, I think, is on the website, must be on the website, or should be. And you can always ask us any questions you might have at this point. Maybe Treena, do you want to share a little bit about your connection to Twitsi Ribal and to Julia? That was really
Yeah,
good.
the first time I went to Guatemala, we went to Twitsi Ribal. This was before the new school was built, and we went to play with the kids, and Doug Goodwin, I think you were on that trip too, if I remember correctly. And we pulled out the soccer balls, and the guys all went off and went to play soccer with the little boys. And there were a few little girls that were hanging around, and this one little girl, she got this kind of cheeky grin on her face, and then started a soccer game with all of the women that were standing around. So it was her and all the women that were on this trip, and she was just this lovely girl with this amazing smile. And I don't speak much Spanish, but I managed to ask her what her name was, and she told me her name was Julia. And I said, well, my daughter's name is Julia. And she responded by saying, well, then we're connected. She was quite young at that point. She was still in school with the government program. But when
Yeah, she was maybe like
reached,
9.
yeah, yeah. And when she reached, of course, grade 6, we offered to fund her education, and we've maintained a connection with her. Now she's married, she has a baby, and we connect with her pretty regularly. Both Julia and Kendrick, my 2 kids, have gone to meet her, and when her baby was born, there was some serious medical complications. So we covered the costs of the hospital stay for her. So we've had this long, really life-changing connection, which started from a visit to the school. Jillian?
I was wondering if anybody knows the name of the community that is connected with Peninsula United Church. When I went there for a few years, we would fund them and we're playing for students there. And
I
I can,
don't.
okay, I'll find out.
Yeah. I thought they were connected with Nicaragua, not Guatemala.
No, creo que es Guatemala.
Okay. Doris and Julio, can you just say why you think going to Guatemala is important for people?
Thank you, Trina. So I think it's a win-win situation. We want to be the bridge between people in Canada and people in Guatemala. For people in Canada is the chance to learn, to keep learning. And also people in Guatemala, we will learn. But also, I think in the soul and the mind, we need to see other realities to learn and to have a perspective of what we have. And for example, to learn about people in Guatemala, we need to learn about the truth and reconciliation and have hope for one day in Guatemala it can happen. But also people in Canada, I think they need to learn about the struggles of the Mayan people and the hope that we have and the process that we have. So it's an opportunity. You, Doris?
I think it has a lot to do with our privilege and how easy it is to forget how privileged we are when we live in our beautiful little world, and where we have healthcare, we have food. Even if you are struggling financially in Canada, just the mere fact that you have healthcare is like such a huge blessing. So we like to show people the world that it is here and the struggles that people have, and then hope that there's some way that people stay connected, even just in their heart and their prayers and their mind as they leave here. Maybe they never come back, but maybe they do, and maybe they stay connected to a project or to, working with a coffee producer here, or working with the school. And many people have done that who have come with us. So I think that's why we hope people come, so that your life will be somehow impacted, and that your humanity and connection to others around the world becomes like a central part of our lives, not just something that's like happening way over there. So
thank you. Do folks have any questions?
Hi, I have one. So I was so exciting seeing the pictures and the kids and the interaction that happens in the trip. How do you manage the language? Like, do they?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
So Julio translates for us. I can translate more or less. And then sometimes we also have our friend Eduardo. He was my Spanish teacher, and now he comes along on the tours, not for the whole thing because he has a job, but usually on the weekends he's with us, and he translates for us as well. So, and we encourage people to do a little Spanish before they come, just learn the basics of like, hello, how are you? My name is. So we work so that you understand. And sometimes at the school, when there's like 50 children and there's one of us is usually in a classroom trying to translate, but it can be crazy. All the kids are like, I need this, I want this. But we do it. We try our best. And there's lots that you can communicate just in actions and in a game or a song.
Showing it.
Google Translate helps. That's how I survived.
Thank you.
Heather Joy?
Yeah, I'm really curious about experiencing, let me see, how do I want to ask this? I'll start by saying, when I was looking at the itinerary, as the ministry worship leader person first in everything, I was like, what are we doing on Sunday morning? And so I went, oh, we're not going to church. Okay. Where is that built in? And so I started to look and was like, okay, the nuns and this visit. I'm really curious. I'll just give a parallel for what I'm interested in here. I'm working with, we have a congregation member who reads and speaks Mohawk, and we were so excited when the Indigenous Bible in Canada came out that the United Church had partnered and funded. The Mohawk Bible is here, and we try to read it when we can out loud to speak the language of the people and understand that concept of hearing the scriptures in one's own Indigenous language, the message of Jesus, how that translates, how that doesn't translate. So very well aware of colonialization, the Catholic Church. You mentioned evangelical work. I'm curious about expressions of Christianity that include and have a part of, because that's something in the Pacific Mountain region, that we have many churches that are Indigenous in faith and on the land of reserves and are expressing Christian faith with Indigenous spirituality woven together and understood and learned. So I expect there are plenty of places where you have seen that. I missed it in our itinerary, or maybe it wasn't there. Is it possible? Say anything you want to about that, because I'm so curious about all of those things.
Yeah, there is very little of that connection here in Guatemala in the main churches, especially I would say the evangelical church. Maybe Julio, you can talk more, but the Mayan spirituality for evangelical Guatemalans is really like
Evil.
the enemy and evil. Okay. So that's our baseline that we're starting at here. And it's tragic and sad, but there is very little acceptance of that. It's like 100 years behind Canada, maybe. So, for us to, our translator Eduardo is evangelical. And the first time we took him to a Mayan ceremony, he was like, what will the people in my church think of me being here? Like, it is so frowned upon. The Catholic Church is a little different. What can you share about that?
So I would like to explain short version. So the Catholic Church came here to be part of the colonization, and they rejected the Mayan spirituality. And they rejected, but at the same time, they accepted some of the Mayan practices. So for more than 500 years, they keep it that way. But then I will say in the beginning of the 20th century, the evangelical church, and they are a little bit more radical. They see the Mayan practice as evil. They don't accept it open. So, and probably 60% of the population in Guatemala is evangelical. So we are talking about this fraction of the population rejecting the Mayan people. But this is the but. I think little by little, the hope is that they are the leaders, some of the leaders of the evangelical church, kind of they are learning a little bit about respecting at least that. But that's one of the biggest struggles of the Mayan leaders, spiritual leaders, and Mayan authorities to try to be respected by the others, because it's a different concept, different vision, and it's a tragedy, but it is what it is. So, but we participate, we open our heart and our brain to learn, and we will part of like the Mayan ceremony, but also we are going to be in Zacualpa with the nuns, and we also do our own reflections, and we can process in our own tools the different moments that we are going to see.
I think we do have a United Church partner, is the Mayan Presbyterian Church. And they're based in, Lori, do you know, are they based in Chimaltenango or Guatemala City?
I'm not sure. I was thinking of them, but I have to ask Christy where they are. I'm not sure.
Okay. Not sure. Yeah. So I'm gonna it's on my list to learn more about them and to find out more about them. I think what we've chosen to do is to honor the indigenous spirituality here through our visit, and to focus on connecting with them, because they have so much struggle in the general society of being accepted. So, but it doesn't mean that we can't add a church visit into the itinerary for sure.
And we are in Antigua on the weekends, so that might be possible there in the church, because there's often worship happening in the evenings and stuff. So
for sure, we're always going in and out of churches while we're here, catching glimpses of. But the language is also a challenge. So if we will try. It's a good point, and it's a good thing to think about. We will also do our own little reflections and little services throughout the time together. We usually plan about 3 or 4 of them.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we picked up on that idea of being aware of partners that are at the interplay of those two things. I'm aware that I thought that was likely this story. I wasn't sure. I didn't know 60% evangelical, and how you just never know how much rejection. I expected that there would be rejection of those kinds of things, but I think that's something that the United Church really does well, is hold culture
for sure.
and honoring
that's the hope,
the story of Jesus together, and allowing people to hold who they are and that indigenous spirituality and practice together. So that's why I'm in the United Church as opposed to any other church. So I'm really excited to be a part of something that honors that and just explores that. Thank you.
We work with the
thanks for the question.
Fraternidad, and I think it is centered in Chinapalan, within Chile. And they do a number of projects in the small towns around there. But I think their center is in Chile. And I've been writing to Argelia, who is the lead person there.
Have you come up with a preferred deadline for registration?
I was thinking May 15th or 30th, maybe May 30th, let's say. So then we have, 2 full months.
Yeah, I have my hand up there. And just going back to the conversation that we were just having, I think that's a valuable back and forth, the dialogue about the involvement with the various groups within Guatemala. We have the same type of fracturing of our communities between the traditional people and those that espouse different forms of Christianity. We've had that for generations. And it's interesting in this context because we have churches that are sponsoring or promoting programs, and it would be good for them to know this difference, that who they are supporting or where their money is going towards. Oftentimes in the evangelical church we see in Africa, some who espouse anti-homosexual views, and then they're supporting those through the U.S. and fostering a division within the community. So we want to be as true to our faith and discipline as we can. And I think that coming there to experience some of that with the community, hearing from them and learning what are some of the avenues of support that they need would be very critical. And I appreciate that the group was attending a ceremony, because that's the way we communicate our authentic selves in community with others that come into there. So really appreciate that, and hopefully we'll see more of that in this engagement. They are foundational to the work of our reconciliation efforts across the globe as a national and international denomination that kind of works with others and helps to promote human rights, environmental rights, indigenous rights, and other avenues of our theology that is really important. So I really appreciate that part of it, and that's part of the reason that I'll consider this to take part in this, because learning those connections and learning the state of things that are going on is very important for how we build out Indigenous ministry, because it does affect how we do ministry here and how we create those supports and resources in, I think, responsible ways. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Any other questions? Thank you. Doris, do you have a slide with the cost on it?
I do not.
Okay. I think it's on the website. Let me just make sure it's...
Yeah, I can talk about the flights a little bit. So I need to research flights from Alberta. I've just looked at Vancouver for now, but you usually fly through either Houston, Dallas, or Mexico City to get there. It's about a 5-hour flight to Mexico City and then about an hour and a half to Guatemala. So there's no direct flights from Canada, but with a quick stop, it's, you're there. And I usually recommend a flight that everyone would take. And then you buy your own ticket, and then we meet you all together at the airport at that time. It works out better because it's quite a distance from the airport to Antigua, where we are.
So I've just posted.
You can also add on. Yeah, go ahead.
I've just posted the cost in here, but I just wanted to highlight that includes everything in country. That includes the food, It includes donations to the places that we visit, and things like we buy a bed for an elder, or Doris mentioned we pay for lunch at the school. So there won't be any additional asks of you financially in the country, except if you want to shop or if you want to purchase alcohol.
Yeah, and some people decide, they're making this effort to come all the way down here. They want to go see something else, like Tikal is a very famous ancient Mayan city in northern Guatemala. And some people like to add that on at the end of the tour. So that's possible. We can help you arrange that. If you're interested, you can let me know.
Sorry, David?
I would just like to put a word in for people going to Tikal. Marcy and I did that, and it was. I think I better turn this off. I'm hearing myself twice here.
There you go. That's better.
It wasn't only the experience of Tikal itself, but an opportunity to also process some of the experience in the tour itself. That's what I want to say.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, if you are, oh, sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, my question is, upon adding the Tikal portion of the trip, would that be an extra 2 days departure, or what would an approximate departure be?
Yes. Yeah, usually. So you would drive with the group back to the airport on the morning that they leave, August, can't remember the day, 12th, I think. And then that day you would fly to Tikal. It's an hour flight to northern Guatemala. You would stay there for one night. Some people stay for two, but most people just stay for one. And you do something like a sunset tour or a sunrise tour through the ruins with a guide. And then you get a shuttle back to the Flores airport, fly back to Guatemala City, and then either that day or the next day fly home to Canada. Depends what flight you take. But I can lay all that out on a separate info sheet.
I would like to add about Tikal. So we are going to see the Mayan of today in the whole trip. But going to Tikal is like a trip to the past. Especially if you have a guide, you are going to learn about the Mayan people from the past. And you can see, like, I will call Tikal is like New York at that time. So it's such an impressive city, and you will learn about the Mayan people from the past. So it is worth it to go there.
So if you walk away from this and have a question that you wish you would have asked, feel free to reach out to Doris and Julio or myself or Michelle, and we'd be happy to be in conversation with you about that. If you know that you're seriously interested, if you can indicate that to us sooner, that would be fabulous, just so that we've got some sense of numbers and so on. And then, of course, we've set the registration date by the end of May.
Yeah. And once the group is gathered, we'll have like a Zoom call like this, so everyone can introduce themselves. We can answer more questions, share. We have a little handbook that we share with all like what to bring, what to expect.
What don't bring.
What don't bring. And then we'll gather together and have our first meeting together once we get to Antigua in person.
So fabulous.
Thank you very much.
And I will say from experience, the places we're staying are beautiful. So we're not staying in it's accommodation like what we would be used to here. So it's beautiful and relaxing and really lovely. So
There's no bunk beds.
And
No
I'm
bunk
going to be
beds.
celebrating a birthday during the trip, so you definitely want to come and celebrate with me.
Big
Nice.
we
birthday
can make a
party
party.
for Michelle.
Birthday
And
party.
as I think I put in the reminder that it isn't, that I've had a lot of questions about the heat. And Doris has mentioned that it's not super hot because it's the Highlands, so you don't need to be worrying about, 40-degree weather or anything like that. You can wear
Oh, no.
shorts and capris and things like that, but you won't be melting.
No, it's not humid here
No,
at all.
it's
It's
cool.
like
It's nice.
25, 26 during the day, and then in the evening gets down to like 13, 14, 15 around there.
Natalia?
Thank you, Treena. I just wanted to add that going there apart from I just feel that the culture is very familiar and very
Colombia.
yeah, I can feel kind of close to Colombia, to my home country. So it's a really exciting place to go, and this opportunity and these activities that you are offering, I think they're really valuable for everyone. Thank you.
Gracias.
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 Okay, well, thanks everyone. We have this recording, so we'll make it available on the websites, this one or the last one, I'm not sure. And if you've got people that that you want to suggest come with you, you'll be able to share the recording of this so that they can learn about the itinerary and so on.
Thank you so much. A big call for everyone.
Thanks, Doris and Julio. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
You.
Here, I'll give you a final shot of the garden on a sunny day.
Wow.
Okay, guys, have a
Looks
beautiful
terrible.
day.
Thoughts and prayers.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.